Welcome to Let Us Interrupt You, episode 243 here on Friday, December 1st, 2023. I am Joseph Olivo, and I can say without a shadow of a doubt last night, the Dallas Cowboys and Seahawks put on a instant classic. There were no punts at all going on last night in the game. It was all offense. It was a duel between Geno Smith and Dak Prescott. And I'm going to make this on record right now. If Myles Garrett does not win Defensive Player of the Year, or TJ Watt doesn't win it, or Khalil Mack doesn't win it, then I think the one person that should win it this year is Darius Bland. Let's just get that out of the way. Right? Even though he had a rough night last night, he allowed 2 touchdowns thanks to DK Metcalf, who actually caught 3 last night, by the way. 1 off of Gilmore, 1 off of Bland last night. Or 2 off of Bland last night, excuse me. But Bland should be Defensive Player of the Year, but I think Dak Prescott, at what I saw last night, should be the MVP NFL in 2023, 2024 NFL season. Like that to me is right now my take of the day after watching this game last night. This was a classic last night. Dak was on the money. He played like a man possessed last night. This was, I mean, it almost felt like watching Tom Brady when he's with the Patriots dominate at home in home games. That's the closest thing I can say about this game last night between the Seahawks and the Cowboys and how it played out last night. Geno Smith, 23 for 41, 334 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 pick. For Prescott, he was 29 for 41, 299 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. Lamb had 12 catches for 116 yards and a touchdown. Ferguson had 6 catches for 77 yards and a touchdown. And Brandon Cooks had 4 catches for 45 yards and a touchdown as well. Ferguson got the game-winning touchdown in the end. It felt like a long journey for the Cowboys to finish that game last night. A much-needed little break after that one. Right now, they're not playing again until next Sunday. But this was one hell of a game. It started out really with rapid-fire succession here. I mean, you got the field goal by the Dallas Cowboys, but then you got Geno Smith on a 3rd down and long, throwing a pass at DK Metcalf for about 73 yards, and he was gone. Anyway, Prescott threw a pass to CeeDee Lamb for 15 yards out. Then Prescott threw another one for 7 yards to Brandon Cooks. That was on an 11-play, 73-yard drive with 4 minutes and 21 seconds. The Seahawks responded with a touchdown drive of their own. A short one, really, after a I think it was I don't even know what happened on that drive, really, but I'm going to try to go back and look at it real quickly. It was a missed field goal that led to a touchdown that made 17-7. Then it was a touchdown from a 75-yard drive out with Smith throwing it to Fant. Shaban got a 5-yard run, then an 11-yard pass to Jackson Smith in the game, but for a first down. Then a ridiculous pass interference call that shouldn't even have been called in the first place. I was so mad by this call. And then it was Shaban, and then it was another defensive pass interference by Gilmore in the end zone. Another bad call. And then Shaban ran it in there for 1 yard out there, made it 17-14. That was a 7-play, 75-yard drive. I'm not sure why this says a 5-play, 28-yard drive there on that one, unless I was off of a. Let me go back to here. I think that was off the interception. That's right, or no. Oh no, it was a. What the hell happened here? Why is it saying? All right. Anyway, I'm sorry. I'm trying to read the game tracker on here, and the audio, and the thing I have held next to my laptop here. It's not working out too good. It's giving me the wrong information. Let's just put it that way. There were some big drives down the field by the Cowboys. Oh, forget it. This thing's not working. Stupid phone. Anyway, you had a 7-yard pass to Cooks, as I was mentioning before. Shaban with a 1-yard play. Then Geno Smith had a nice play, 8-play, 75-yard drive. DK Metcalf at their penalty at galore made 21-20. Then Shaban, then Smith scrambled up the middle. He got 5 yards in the end zone there. Then Powell ran it in himself right there. Then DK Metcalf, 3rd time in a row, gets a touchdown reception. He had a big game last night. And after the field goal there, Prescott throws it to Ferguson from 12 yards out. That play is good. Then he throws a pass to Brandon Cooks in the end, so that's good. That's a 7-play, 54-yard drive. They went for it a few times on 4th down, Seattle. They could not get it. But there were a lot of dumb penalties last night in this game, though. Cowboys did get the win 41-35. Big win for the Cowboys, by the way, they're 9-3. Let me just mention this about the game from last night. There were too many ridiculous penalties that were called in this game last night. There were bad pass interference calls in this game. And it got to a point where I was looking at it, I'm thinking in my head, like, are they just going to call everything now pass interference? Is that what we're resorting the stuff back to here with us? Because it was pretty bad last night. There were 19 penalties called combined. 10 of them went against Seattle for about 130 yards. Dallas had 9 penalties for 127. This was a rough one to watch as far as how that played out. But it was a duel, though. I mean, it kind of ruined the game a little bit for me. It kind of like aggravated me a little bit at that point. Seattle was 9 for 14 on third down. Dallas was 8 for 14 on third down. Seattle went for 3 times on fourth down. They were 0 for 3. And Dallas was 1 for 2 on fourth down. They had some stops as well. They had Seattle had a missed field goal again by Myers. Not really the best nights for the kicker for Seattle, but I mean, it is what it is. But this game, from start to finish, and I just thought about this in my head because my first thought was that like they know exactly what they're doing. See, right here, for some strange reason, I don't know what this is, but it's telling me here that it's only a 5-play, 28-yard drive. Unless it was for the penalty. Was it a penalty? That's why. The penalty was called there on Woolen there. That's why. That makes sense. All right, but it was really okay, so that's what it was. It was a 5-play, 75-yard drive. It was a 2-yard play to Pollard. Then Prescott got sacked. Then Ferguson got a 17-yard grab, which was an easy like tight end screen. That's what happened there. That's why I was saying 5 plays, 28 yards on a game tracker, because it wasn't counting the penalty yards there. The missed field goal led to 11 play, 68-yard drive by the Dallas Cowboys. That's Seattle had the missed field goal. They went for on fourth down. Prescott then had a 12-yard pass to Pollard. A couple plays later, Lamb had a 14-yard reception. Lamb had a great night last night, and he actually made some history too in this game as well. I'm actually going to take you to that info right now. CeeDee Lamb breaks the Hall of Famer Bob Hayes' record for the most 100-yard receiving games in his first 4 seasons. I think he had 5 or 6 in a row, I believe, at this point in one season. So congrats to Bob Hayes for having your record broken at this point. Now you can say at this point you no longer own the record. You can tell that to CeeDee Lamb at this point. CeeDee Lamb's got the record breaker now, so congrats to him. Well deserved. And you can argue right now he could be in the potential for the MVP conversation after last night. I mean, besides Tyreek Hill trying to get 2,000 yards receiving, which I am still convinced he will get by the end of the season. I think it's just going to come down to, other than that bad game with Kansas City, I mean, he hasn't had a bad game since. So I got to say right now, I think he'll get the record. I don't know how he'll get it, but I think he'll get the record by the end of the season here. I mean, I think he's got about at least 1,500 yards receiving right now. So all he needs to have is another 100, 200 yards receiving in a game. Now we get like close to 1,700. He'll get at least another 1,800 there, then 1,900. He'll get to 2,000 before the end of the year, I'm pretty sure. So, but I mean, Hill at this point will have a breakout game. I think he didn't do that great against the Jets last week, but we'll see what happens with Tyreek Hill. But for CeeDee Lamb, though, I mean, you got to have 6 straight games of 100-plus yards down the field. And I don't think Jamar Chase has even had more than 2 this year. I mean, it's incredible. It's making Prescott look good as well. I think Prescott at this point is going to get MVP at this point. I mean, I thought it'd be Patrick Mahomes or Lamar Jackson or Tua Tagovailoa, but then I watched Prescott last night, the way he was dissecting that Seattle defense towards the end of that game, and even tries coming back from being down by 8 points twice. That's not easy to do that, to play like that at that level and succeed with it. So I think congrats to him. Well-deserved last night. Well-played game last night. I'm sorry, I'm just botching my words all over the place at this point. I'm trying to do this because I have another job to get to after this anyway. But anyway. We got some more NFL news. Machine Kelly, $500,000 in incentives to leave the Chiefs and join the Cleveland Browns. Machine Gun Kelly is a diehard Cleveland Brown fan. I don't think Kelsey's going to go anywhere anytime soon. I don't see why he would join the Cleveland Browns. I don't think their issue is at tight end here. I think their issue is at quarterback. They have Deshaun Watson for the next 3 years at this point to put up with and we're not talking like Deshaun Watson of old in Clemson or in Houston. We're talking about the lackluster, not full of energy, waste of a space Watson in Cleveland. with a $230 million contract on top of that. So I don't think Travis Kelce's going to go anywhere here at this point, and I can't imagine Taylor Swift going to literally the doghouse in Cleveland. I just can't imagine that. I can't. Sorry. That's the way I look at it. Tyreek Hill also joked on. I'm talking a lot about Tyreek Hill on the show here at this point. Jokes about Patrick Mahomes' connection with Travis Kelce that drove him from going to staying in Kansas City. Once that connection was built up at this point, he said that led the way to his departure. I'm not saying quote by quote for what he said here, but that's basically what he was referring to there. But the way I look at it, Tyreek Hill kind of was buddy with Patrick Mahomes, and then Kelce just cock blocked him, and basically that was the end. That was the end of that whole conversation, the end of that relationship there. And at the end of the day, I mean, when it really comes down to it, if Tyreek Hill was with the Chiefs right now, you could argue right now the Chiefs right now are legitimate Super Bowl favorites, and they probably would have won that game against the Eagles back in Week 9, or not Week 9. Sorry, back in week was it Week 12? Was it Week 11? That game was? It was Week 11. Yeah. Wow, I'm really losing it. Speaking of Tyreek Hill here, we're going to have more Tyreek Hill news here. He announced that he's covering the Cameron's salary after the NFL suspended him at this point for the majority of the season. So that's great for Tyreek Hill. He was the one that took his phone and did a viral video doing him a backflip. That was the Week 6 game against the Carolina Panthers, by the way. I was able to figure out when that happened. That was nice of Tyreek Hill, by the way, to cover his salary. I mean, I feel bad for this guy because the fact of the matter is, and I said it yesterday, I don't think there was any reason for him to be suspended for the rest of the season at this point. We've seen people give props all the time in the NFL. I've never heard of any camera person, personnel of the football field, security, all these people being suspended or fined or whatever the case may be. I just think the idea the NFL would suspend that person. Either Goodell was in a really bad mood that day, or one of the owners just wasn't too fond of that at all and just hated the idea of Tyreek Hill. Apparently, one of the owners thought that Tyreek Hill got hurt because of that backflip, which that wasn't the case at all. Because 2 plays right before that, he pulled his hamstring. I'm pretty sure he did the backflip right after that happened. So, and he had to touch down in the end zone that led to that backflip. But I don't know. But to me, when I feel bad for Kevin Fitzgibbons, I really do. That camera guy, I don't think he deserved to get suspended for the rest of the year at this point, and then possibly terminated. If he got terminated, I would sue the NFL. That's what I would do. There's nothing in this rule book about not handing out props to players and having fun. I don't get the logic behind that. If I'm him, I'm going after the NFL because that's my livelihood right there. That's the way Kevin should look at that. I mean, I know he's grateful for the opportunity and all that stuff like that, but I can't imagine that being in the rule book where you're not allowed to have fun and you're not allowed to have somebody grab your phone and do a viral video off of it. To me, it's not disrupting from the game. There's nothing wrong with it. The referees just penalized and did their job because Goodell's on them about them doing their job at this point and throwing as many flags as possible. That way they earn more in their keep here. Because these owners sometimes don't even like the referees. They want these referees to be robotics at this point and just call the right calls and not mess up the game. Because they don't like the fact these referees are making about $200,000 to $300,000 a year. They don't like it. So then again, they don't like their players making over $300 million at this point, which is why they cut their contract, which is why the contracts are not always guaranteed in the NFL. But whatever. It is what it is. We got some series of Buffalo Bills news here. The Bills head coach, Sean McDermott, safe beyond the 2020 season. He is not going to be on the hot seat at this point. I don't think he was going to be on the hot seat to begin with. But it seemed like it was when the team was practically quitting on him in most of the games they were playing. I will say this, though, right now, though, at this point. I think the firing of Ken Dorsey here did not help this Buffalo Bills team. They're practically the exact same team. Josh Allen's not clutching overtime games. And when it really comes down to it, I think they really should have rethought of signing Sean McDermott in the first place here. Not that he was the problem with this team the entire time, and I'm not saying Josh Allen's the problem or Stephon Diggs is the problem. It's the lack of, wide receiver depth they have in that team. It's literally Gabe Davis and Stephon Diggs and Dawson Knox whenever they want him to play wide receiver, and it's not often as it was last year. If you think about it, really, they're trying to add Dalton Kincaid in the whole thing, and the problem is it's depending on what kind of Josh Allen's in that day. Does he not want to play that day at this point? Is he emotionally, with the program here? I don't know. Okay, I don't know what the story is going forward right now with Josh Allen and the Bills are going to be at this point. But you kind of figure now it's like, well, that did come into play here. That's been the problem with Allen now at this point is his attention span's been all over the place. And he's making tons of mistakes out there that aren't good. I mean, he's already got 12 interceptions this year. So that's not a good thing. If you already have 12 interceptions already at this point, you're not up for the MVP conversation. You're not Dak Prescott, let's put it that way. Dak Prescott at the last night, by the way, here's another factor going into this whole thing last night. 6-0 at home this year, 18 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, around about, I don't know, a few thousand yards passing at this point. He's not paid. I think Prescott this year has not thrown a pick at all. I think he's only got 9 picks this year. If he keeps these games up right now, like he's on pace right now to get at least up to 30 to 35 touchdowns, maybe up to 40. If he gets to 40 touchdowns and 9 picks, that might be enough to get him the MVP conversation. I'm just saying. I think Dak should be MVP right now. I think Dak's in the MVP race. I think he should have already passed Tua already, Josh Allen, and Mahomes. I think he's neck and neck right now with Lamar Jackson at this point as far as the MVP conversation goes. That's the way I look at it. Geno Smith had a great night last night too. I mean, you can't take anything away from that guy. He brought it last night. And this was probably one of the best career games Geno Smith's ever going to have in the NFL. I don't think he's going to have anything better than that at all. I mean, you kind of look at it clutch game like that in prime time against a really awesome Dallas defense. And look, I mean, granted, they had a game against Detroit earlier this year where he threw for like 370 on that Detroit Lion defense in Detroit, and they got the win there. I get it, and they put up 37 points. But that game right there was not in prime time. It had a lot more viewers than that right now, and a lot more talked about because of like who we went up against. Because Jared Goff's not in the MVP conversation. He's not really. I don't want to say he's elite right now at this point, but he's like above average. Geno Smith at the last night, you kind of look at it right now, might be an elite quarterback who went from suck to not being thought of to being in the elite class, being ahead of Jared Goff at the last night. That's the way I look at it. He finally reached the elite status at this point at the last night's game against the Dallas Cowboys. All he had to do was go in there. I mean, even if he didn't get the win, all he really had to do was put up a performance like that and still managed to make the game unbelievably harder for Prescott to make a comeback in. And that's exactly what he did. Panthers quarterback Bryce Young says the entire team shares responsibility for head coach Frank's firing. David Tepper did a press conference the other day. I couldn't retrieve the clip before the show started, unfortunately. They were saying how he was questioned about how the quarterback coach Josh McCown, who was fired, said they wanted CJ Stroud here. There was actually a clip of him saying that he actually was going to say like, "Hey, hey, you look a really great, kid. I mean, get ready to go to Carolina pretty damn soon." And then there's another clip of him showing like him just looking at Bryce Young going, "What the hell do we take this guy for?" The way I look at it, I think everybody wants CJ Stroud. That's pretty obvious. I think his pro day went good. Combine went great. He looked great for Houston. Everybody figured, this guy's gonna have some problems. I mean, he had some problems throughout the preseason, really, more than anything else. I didn't think he was gonna be as great as he is right now, but he's been incredible. The Raiders also want him at this point. Here's another factor about this as well, by the way. The fact that David Tepper right now is full of crap when he says right now, like, "Oh yeah, we're doing the best thing right now for Bryce Young." At this point, here's the way I look at it. I think the owner wanted Young. Frank Reich wanted CJ Stroud. Josh McCown wanted CJ Stroud. Deuce Staley wanted CJ Stroud. But David Tepper, like, if you don't get on his good side here and help the kid out here, like in his mind, he's dumb at this point. He doesn't see the writing on the wall here that you should take CJ Stroud. I don't buy that for 1 minute. And the way I look at it for Tepper here is like he fires head coaches early because it's never him. And I feel like this is on him more than it was on Frank Reich than anything else. I mean, yeah, Frank Reich at this point overstayed his welcome when it came to the NFL, and as far as being a head coach goes. And him calling a quit at that one and retiring, it's like, great. He must have listened to Tom Brady saying how the coaching today is awful, and the fundamentals aren't being taught right. And next thing you know, Frank Reich is fired right after that interview took place with Stephen A. Smith and Brady. And he mentions how he's done coaching. I don't blame Frank Reich for retiring at this point. I think Frank Reich was hoping he would retire quickly before he would get fired. But the fact that Josh McGowan and Deuce Staley was gone, I kind of find it really weird. I really do. Especially now where I think this owner just does not know what he's doing. He's lost. Not only have they lost the coaching staff at this point, the coaching staff had to go. The owner's starting to lose his own team. And so I look at that and I figure, you know what? It's only a matter of time before Dave Tepper decides to sell this team and just completely moves out from Carolina at this point, because I don't think any NFL owner wants to put up with this crap. They're all laughing at me, thinking to themselves, like, you can't even keep this coach for a full season at this point. So it's just very sad, really. Von Miller turned himself in with the police at this point. I have a Instagram clip, believe it or not, if I can just pull it up on my phone here. My phone, which is about to die, really. Let me just pull up real quickly here. All right, here we go.
Von Miller has officially ruined his life, and here's why. So in 2021, Von Miller was in an explosive relationship with a former player by the name of Megan Denise. He got her pregnant, and he didn't seem very happy about this. Megan Denise would release very explosive text messages that quite literally included Von Miller wishing death upon his unborn child. When he was called out about it, he would say it was fake news. And now this time it's way worse. A warrant is out for Von Miller's arrest because he allegedly tried to assault the same woman when she was pregnant with their second child. Police said Miller left the scene before officers arrived, and the alleged victim was not taken to a hospital but was treated for minor injuries at the scene. Now, a charge of assaulting a pregnant person is a third-degree felony in Texas, and if all of this news is true, then there's no question
So Von Miller has ruined his life, according to Flight with Mike, by the way. I was on his podcast that he does on. I'm not really sure what day he does those podcasts on at this point. Like, you hear music in the background, stuff like that. He plays different songs on the track here at this point. I don't know if he's just on Instagram or what his story is, but he does have great content. So if you want to follow him on Instagram, it's the Flight Mike, at the Flight Mike on Instagram. And Von Miller turned himself in after all this news came out at this point of him beating up his pregnant girlfriend, which, I mean, I've now lost all respect for him now at this point. But I do respect the fact right now that he turned himself in at this point. But the fact that he got released at this point, it's almost like, what's the point? Like, he knew that was going to happen. He had tons of money to get himself bonded out. Why even turn yourself in at this point if you're going to get released off of bail? It just makes no sense to me. He hasn't really come out and said at this point whether or not he did do it, though. The former stripper that he had a relationship with, Megan Denise, here, saying, I guess they got in an altercation, I guess. I don't know if there's been rumors saying that he's wished death upon this child at this point, and an unborn child. I don't feel like Von Miller's that kind of person that would ever do that. But to beat up a woman, though, put your hands on, that's just wrong. It really is. And it's a different light to how I see Von Miller at this point until this whole thing's resolved. If it comes out that he's good and did nothing wrong, then I can let him back in my good gracious here. But I just can't, on good conscience, just take that guy seriously going forward. I really can't. It's disgusting what he did, really. It really is. It's actually gross. Anyway, let's see. There was also some other news that happened. I think we got DJ Ugali here and Spencer Rattler. Or I should say, Spencer Rattler. Spencer Rattler is heading in the NFL draft. That's one thing to get out of the way first. That was breaking news. Apparently, it came out back on Wednesday, I guess, that he announced on social media that Spencer Rattler is declaring for the NFL draft in 2024, which I got to be honest here. I said it before. I'll say it again. Spencer Rattler is nothing more than a quarterback that is going to be a wide receiver. Because when I think of Spencer Rattler, I don't picture him as a quarterback in the NFL. I don't. I will say this, though. if Rattler just decides to keep being a quarterback in his league, the one team that I think he'd fit in pretty well with, and this is just me, just grasping at straws here, just call it like I see it. Spencer Rattler could be a really good quarterback for the Carolina Panthers. I at this point, Bryce Young sucks. There's no other way of looking at it. The guy's had 1 year at this point. He's one of the worst quarterbacks in the league. He's had a sad rookie season. He can't throw the ball more than 200 yards down the field. He's not clutch at all. He's only had 2 games this year where he threw for over 250 this year. And they're all garbage yards late in the game after the team's being blown out. So Spencer Rattler to me belongs with the Carolina Panthers. I just think it makes a lot more sense for that to happen. Oregon State quarterback DJ Ugali and UCLA quarterback Dante Moore heading all to the transfer portal. According to a source that was confirmed to Tom Van Haren. News was first reported on 3. The other news for DJ Ugali was reported on. It was not reported through CBS Sports. It was actually reported through Fox Sports, where's where I got the story, and Sports Illustrated, by the way. Matt Rule, by the way, went off on the quarterback transfer portal news about this stuff.
That a good quarterback in the portal costs.
Hold on.
Make no mistake that a good quarterback in the portal costs $1 million to $1.5 million to $2 million right now. So just on the same page, right? So let's make sure we all understand what's happening. So there's some teams that have $6 or $7 million players playing for them.
So that was Matt Rule, the Nebraska head coach, former Carolina Panther head coach, and former Baylor head coach. I think a lot of people don't really realize that he was a good football coach for the Baylor Bears. Back before 2016, 2019 timeline. But Matt Rule with Nebraska, what he's done with Nebraska this year, he's been okay, not great. I kind of look at it like this. I think Dante Moore is going to end up being transferred over to Nebraska. I don't know where DJ Ugali goes from here at this point, why he's seeking out transferring at this point. Here's the way I look at it. I think he's a good enough quarterback this year where I could say he's better than most guys. But I can't see DJ Ugali going to the SEC, though, and going to South Carolina because Spencer Rattler is going to be leaving for the draft. It would only make sense. And plus, Dante Moore at the point with Matt Rule and stuff like that. I think they have a good decorum there. Nebraska could use an interesting quarterback. Dante Moore, I think realistically was great for UCLA. I'm not sure why he's being transferred, unless it's Chip Kelly, unless he's forcing him out the door at this point. Maybe it's academically, maybe he's stressed out. Maybe he's trying to go to a different, more easier school. I don't know. When I heard this, I thought of Matt Rule and that whole Prescott, because I thought what he said was interesting about the portal. So, you got Tyler Van Dyke, who last week saying he was going to go to transfer portal at the end of the Miami Hurricane season. So he could end up going to Nebraska as well. I mean, there's going to be a case where Dante Moore goes to the Miami Hurricanes. I can see DJ Ugali going to one place. That's South Carolina. I don't know what it is. Like, the more I look at it, it's kind of a good excuse to have a Clemson-South Carolina game next year in Clemson with DJ Ugali returning to face Dabo here. It makes a lot more sense. Is it a money matchup? Not really, but it's like it's the only school that I think realistically that could use a quarterback. And plus, I think Van Dyke's going to end up going to Oregon State anyway. I just can't imagine that kid, going anywhere else at this point. But whoever's left of the Pac-12 by then, because it'll be nothing. It'll be like the Pac-6 at this point by the time it's all set and done. Oregon will be gone. Ohio, USC will be gone. Washington will still be around, but what's the point? I mean, it's just, the Pac-12's dead. That's all there is to it. The Pac-12 is officially dead. And you hate to see it, but it's sad. It's sad in reality. This was caught on Bleacher Report by Jabril Pepper saying this to Saquon Barkley. He's saying after the Patriots lost to the Giants last weekend, you're lucky that we're ass because we would have beaten you guys. So that was unfortunate. Even Jabril Peppers knows that they're ass. I think as soon as that tagline came out, that it's just remarkable, really, of how sad the Patriots team has become this year at this point. They got booted off of Monday Night Football, which I talked about yesterday. Robert Kraft knew it was coming, so it shouldn't be. He was not upset, according to Phil Perry of the Football Insider for 98.5 The Sports Hub. He was on Solak and Bertrand earlier today. You hate to hear news like that, but it's almost like you can't be surprised. Like, you can't be surprised by that fact that going into this year, the Patriots were going to suck this year. I think Kraft knew about it. I think he looked at that roster and said to himself, Jesus Christ, we're going to be flexed out of a really great games this year. I know we are. Because he knows deep down this team's terrible. But here's one way of looking at it, though, at this point. You looking forward to the draft next year? I sure as hell am at this point. But you know who's not going to go to the NFL draft right now at this point? That I just found out today right now at this point that might bite this team in the ass, along with the Panthers, along with the Bears, along with the Cardinals as well. Caleb Williams. Emotional after the season end here. He's going to remain at USC at this point, according to Black and White Sports, the podcast. Caleb Williams not going anywhere. Heisman favorite, although he was a Heisman favorite early in the season right now at this point. He's no longer in that case. Bo Nix, I think, and Marvin Harrison Jr. are going to run away with that whole thing. And I got to say, Michael Penix Jr. might be in a conversation fold as well. I kind of look at it like this. I think Penix Jr. is a runner-up. I think Marvin Harrison comes in third. I think Bo Nix wins that Heisman Trophy. I seriously do. I don't see how anybody else could win it. So I hope Bo Nix wins it. He's got 60 touchdowns and 20 rushing touchdowns in his career in his time in Oregon. So he's had a great year this year. He deserves the Heisman as far as I'm concerned. He really does. All right. Speaking of college football here, I talked a lot of college today. Let's get into college football championship prediction weekend here. I will be on here tomorrow night to recap all the games that are on for college football here for as far as championship weekend goes. Here's how it's going to start off tonight. It's going to start off tonight at 8 o'clock. Actually, let's go to New Mexico State and Liberty here for the Conference USA Championship. It's undefeated Liberty hosting New Mexico State in a neutral location. I'm not sure where this is going to be played at. But I'm going to go with Liberty tonight. They're going to get the win over New Mexico State. They've had a pretty good season. I think Liberty has just been good, offensively and defensively this year. Slater's been great this year. I think he's going to out-duel Pavia here. Strong campaign for Salter, I think, this year, who I think might be this year. He's only a sophomore right now. He'll be eligible for the draft in 2025. That kid's got a good arm. So I think he'll sling it a lot tonight against Pavia here. He'll make it an interesting game against Liberty, but I don't think I think it's gonna be all Liberty all day long. They know how to win great clutch bowl games. 5th-ranked Oregon taking on 3rd-ranked Washington. 2 Heisman Trophy candidates going head-to-head one more time, this time in Las Vegas. Last year, it was Utah upsetting USC when USC was undefeated. I don't think there's going to be an upset this year. I think Washington wins the title for the first time in over 32 years. I think they get the W here. I think Michael Penix Jr. is going to have a great game. He's going to show off in Las Vegas here. This is the time to do it. He's been slacking a lot lately. Bo Nix has been really great. I think this is going to be a hell of a duel. This may end up being like a 48-41 win for Washington. I got to say right now at this point, I think 5 or 6 touchdowns sounds about good for Michael Penix Jr. I think 4 for Bo Nix. I think it'll be like one crucial 4th down conversion failure here at the end of this game that's going to really just determine this game. I think Michael Penix Jr. just doing this like at least for 2 touchdowns in the game is going to really seal it there. And whoever's open in that field. There's a lot of great wide receivers. You got Jalen Polk in there as well. I think he'll get 2 touchdowns. The running back might get 1. The tight end might get 1. That's how you got to look at it here. It's just spraying the ball around at this point. But Polk and Ordonez. And I think Oregon doesn't have the defensive backs really that can shut them out. So it was proven in that first game. So I'm going to go with Washington over Oregon. Big 12 title game on tomorrow afternoon at 12. It's Oklahoma State at Texas. I believe this will be played in Arlington, Texas, I believe. In the Dallas Cowboys Stadium with a big giant jumbotron. I'm going to go with the Texas Longhorn Hands to get the W here. I think Quentin Ewers at this point is going to go off for at least 300 yards here. I don't think Oklahoma State's defense is going to slow down Quentin Ewers and Xavier Worthy. I just don't see it. There's too much talent on that Texas team to slow down with. Plus, their defense is too stacked, too. I'm going to go with a Texas win here, 35-20. I don't see Texas losing that game. They're going to cover the spread here at 15. The SEC championship game on tomorrow. It's number 1 Georgia Bulldogs taking on number 8 Alabama Crimson Tide. Crimson Tide are 5.5 dogs as the neutral site home team representative here for the SEC West. Taking on the SEC East champs for like the 12th year in a row. I'm going to go with the Bulldogs here, getting the win. I think Carson Beck's going to have a great game. I think he's going to throw for at least 300 yards here. Jalen Monroe's inexperience in a title game like this is going to make it tough for me to pick the Crimson Tide here. Nick Saban's been great in SEC title games at this point. In fact, I can't remember the last time Alabama lost an SEC title game with Nick Saban. I don't believe they ever had. Oh, actually, no, going back to 2007, 2008 year. I'm sorry. That was the only time they actually – and they might have lost in 08, 09 too. So there were only 2 years that they actually lost, I believe. Actually, looking back on it now, they weren't in the 08 one. That's right. There was 08, 09. That's right. I forgot. Anyway, Saban only lost one, and that was the 08, 09 year. That was the 08, 09 season, I should say, when Tim Tebow was there. So that was the last time that Alabama lost. This is going to be a case here where you get Nick Saban rail loss an SEC title game. I think the Bulldogs defense will come to play here. Miller will get a couple of turnovers here in this game, crucial points. I think Georgia wins by 10. I think I'm going to go with a 41-31 win. It's not going to be all defense in this game, but it's going to be coming in crucial moments here where Miller is going to try to do too much here and try to take this team back. And the Bulldogs just, go strong here throughout. The ACC title game, it'll be Louisville versus Florida State. I believe this is in Greensboro. I think this is in Greensboro, I believe, at this point this ACC title game is going to be at. I'm not really 100% sure. No Jordan Travis because he's out with a broken leg. That kind of hurt his draft stock as well going to the NFL draft. They actually hurt the Florida State Seminoles more than anything else. Here's the way I look at it. The way Louisville's playing right now at this point, that loss to Kentucky kind of hurt them a little bit here. I have a funny feeling, and this is just my feeling here, with the fact that Tate Maker played Florida here. You played a weak SEC team. You're playing a strong Louisville team that's a great defensively. I think Louisville takes this in an upset win. I don't know if Tate Maker really had a great test last week. He started out really slow. The team overall wasn't gelling that much. I didn't think overall it was really that great of a performance, honestly, by Florida State. I don't think they have a strong enough team to make it deep in a deep playoff run. Long get by the ACC title game here against a really awesome Louisville team that's got a decently good quarterback. So, I mean, I look at that team and I look at, what they bring to the table here. Plummer's been a interesting story here this season at this point. He's going into senior year. He's definitely eligible for the NFL draft. Jack Plummer is one hell of a story here. And I think Jack Plummer, here's my take about this whole thing. Since Caleb Williams is not going to the NFL, is not going to the NFL draft here, and the way I look at it right now, because I see Spencer Rattler going to the Carolina Panthers, I think Bryce Young is, as far as starting career, I think it might be done. But Jack Plummer, I think he's gonna be the next quarterback for the New England Patriots. That's my prediction. The fact that we're not gonna get Caleb Williams going to the NFL draft, Jack Plummer's the next thing up to it. I mean, he's close to 3,000 yards passing this year. He's had a pretty good year. I think he's actually a lot better than Mac Jones, honestly. I mean, this guy's played at least 2 or 3 years now of college football. I've seen what I've gotten from him. He's not like the best quarterback in the world, but he's good enough to where it's like, okay, he can make it on an NFL level. Is he a elite class? It's a wait and see kind of thing. But I can see Jack Plummer taking Mac Jones' place next year and getting the win for the ACC title game. I don't know if this will get Louisville in the college football playoff. I don't believe it will. But it will get them at least into a really good bowl game at this point. Really good contention for a good bowl game that's like outside the college football playoff realm. Big Ten title. All right, I should say, before I even get to the Big Ten championship game, the American Athlete Championship game, the AAC. SMU taking on Tulane here. I kind of believe that Mustangs will get their revenge against Tulane. I think Tulane got a win on them earlier this year. I think that Mustangs will pull out the upset here. Their offense has been really great this year. They're unpredictable, I think. And I think Stone, honestly, has been a really good quarterback. I mean, he's a lot better than Pratt. He's got a great arm. You look at that defense of theirs, they're fun to watch. And Nuka this year has got 3 interceptions this year, 2 of them for pick sixes. Overall, their defense is 15th in the league in passing yards allowed. They only allow 180-plus yards per on average here, to 20th in the run game, which is 117. That's 28th in the country out of like 500 schools. 13th in points and 17 points. But their defense overall is just interesting here. I mean, Tulane's 6th in rushing, but I think SMU with the passing game here to limit what Pratt can do throwing the ball wise here. It'll be very interesting to see what he does here. But I think SMU is going to pull up the upset here. Big Ten championship. It is the Michigan Wolverines taking on the Iowa Hawkeyes. I am taking the Michigan Wolverines on the road in Indy in this case here to pull off the big win here. Jim Harbaugh will get his return as a head coach here. His final hurrah as a Big Ten champion here. It's going to happen. I think Michigan's going to go. I think Michigan is all on right now, all in on winning a national title this year at this point. But I think it'll be Washington. My prediction right now out of the college football playoff right at this point is going to be Washington versus Michigan for the national title. I don't know if Georgia's going to – honestly, the way I look at it, I don't even know if Georgia's going to survive whoever comes in as a 4 seed, which I think right now if Florida State loses here, Ohio State's right back in that conversation. They get themselves right back as a 4 seed here. They take Florida State completely out of it. And I think Ohio State is going to lose it. Here's my opinion here. Here's my opinion now going forward. I think Michigan becomes a number 2 seed here. I think what happens here is Ohio State comes in at I think Michigan will probably surpass. Here's the way I look at it. I think Washington will be number 2. Georgia somehow will drop in this one here. I don't know why, but I feel like here's the way I look at it. Washington will go into number 2. Michigan will probably go in as a 3. Ohio State comes in as a 4th here, and Georgia comes in number 1. So, I guess in this case they wouldn't play each other then. Never mind then. I think we're going to see Michigan and Ohio State go at it one more time then. But I think this time around here it'll be Kyle McCord that tries to win it back for Ohio State. But I think Michigan just beats him twice. So that's the way I look at it. That's the way I see it. We have NBA action on tonight. We have Sixers and Celtics. Memphis Grizzlies at the Dallas Mavericks. Knicks at the Raptors. Spurs at the Pelicans. We have the Denver Nuggets at the Phoenix Suns on ESPN. We have Washington Wizards at the Orlando Magic. That's going to be the full on tonight. Last night, we had some great NBA action. We had the Trailblazers beat the Cavaliers 103-95. Miami Heat beat the Pacers 142-132. The Hornets going to Brooklyn last night. They beat the Nets 129-128. The Knicks beat the Pistons 118-112. Officially no wins for the Detroit Pistons in November. They've now lost 16 straight games. The Bulls in overtime beat the Bucks 120-113. The Timberwolves beat the Jazz 101-90. The Oklahoma City Thunder beat the Lakers 133-110. The Atlanta Hawks beat the San Antonio Spurs, giving the Spurs a 12th straight loss, 137-135. Trae Young scored 45 points last night. The Golden State Warriors beat the LA Clippers 120-114. Steph Curry had 26 points. Kawhi Leonard had 23 for the Clippers. The Warriors improved to 9-10. The Clippers dropped to 8-10 on the season. For hockey last night, give you a quick rundown what happened last night. A lot of big games on last night. Bruins shut out the San Jose Sharks 3-0. Pretty easy win there. The Sharks are a very weak team as far as NHL teams go. Blackwood had 34 saves for the Sharks last night, which is very surprising. But Swayman had 26 saves, did not allow a single goal last night. DeBrus had a goal last night. Hayden had a goal. And I believe Petros had an assist and a +1, had a few shots on goal. Zacha had an assist and a goal with a +1 last night, and he had some penalty minutes last night in the game. He had 3 shots on goal. So good for the Bruins. They got the win last night. Red Wings beat the Blackhawks 5-1. It was the Connor Bedard show. Better had the assist. It was a -2 last night, but it did not matter though. The goal went to Reckel here, but for the Red Wings, it was the following here. You had a 2-goal night for Rabbi, you had a 2-goal night for Crumper, and you had I think that's a goal for Chariot last night in the 5-1 win. The Devils beat the Flyers in overtime 4-3. There was a rough hit in this game last night that I wanted to mention here. I think it was Luke. I want to say it was either Jack or Luke that got nailed here. And it was Luke, actually. And he got nailed on this hit from behind, and he was clutching his leg after that hit happened. It was a rough one. It was not easy here. It was on Heyman, I believe. I think for the Flyers, and it almost got the coach ejected. There was ejections going around here last night. But Devils did get the win in Philadelphia 4-3. The Panthers beat the Montreal Canadiens 5-1. The Pittsburgh Penguins beat the Tampa Bay Lightning in Tampa 4-2. The Maple Leafs in a shootout beat the Kraken 4-3. Wild destroyed the Nashville Predators in Nashville 6-1. Edmonton Oilers continue their winning streak right now. They've now won 4 straight, beating Winnipeg 3-1. Arizona Coyotes beat the Colorado Avalanche 4-3. The Calgary Flames won in overtime. Both games by way Arizona and Colorado and Dallas. Calgary both won in overtime. Had the exact same score of 4-3. I had this game going to overtime last night, 5-4 win for Hurricanes. Flip that aside right now. The Islanders got the win in Carolina, 5-4 in overtime. The St. Louis Blues beat the Buffalo Sabres 6-4. The Washington Capitals beat the Anaheim Ducks 5-4, and the Vegas Golden Knights exposed the Vancouver Canucks last night and Vancouver and got the W 4-1. Their best chance of getting in first place was last night, and they choked under pressure. That's kind of what happened last night in that game. And that's pretty much it. There's not really much else to tell here in that one right now. We have NCAA men's basketball on last night. We had Florida Atlantic beating Liberty 83-58. 25th ranked Oklahoma beating UAPB 107-86. Creighton getting the win over Oklahoma State 79-65. Creighton was 15th ranked. 16th ranked Texas beating Texas Southern 77-58. Or Texas State, I'm sorry, not Texas Southern. We got games on tonight. We have the UConn Huskies, undefeated UConn Huskies, defending national champions, taking on number 5, 5th ranked Kansas Jayhawks. You got number 1 ranked Purdue taking on Northwestern. 19th ranked BYU over taking on Fresno State. BYU is at home. Purdue is at Northwestern. 6th ranked Houston is at Xavier tonight. So that's in the top 25. As far as Big East competition goes tonight, right now, you got St. John's taking on West Virginia, and you have Iowa State taking on DePaul. For the Big Ten here, it's Maryland taking on Indiana. I also mentioned number 1 Purdue, of course, at Northwestern. For the Atlantic 10, there is no URI playing, but South Carolina Gamecocks are home, and they're undefeated. They can take on George Washington. VCU taking on Norfolk University tonight in the Atlantic 10. And like I mentioned before, tomorrow night, tomorrow night, it will be the URI Rams taking on the Providence Friars. Providence Friars going in as 15-point favorites. And TCU is taking on Georgetown. Georgetown with Ed Cooley, now the new formerly PC head coach, now Georgetown head coach. 11.5 dogs. 3rd ranked Marquette is taking on Wisconsin in Wisconsin. You have 18th ranked Villanova, who lost this week, taking on Drexel. They are 12-point favorites going to that one here. For Saturday, as far as top 25 going right now, you have Notre Dame taking on 8th ranked Miami. You have Florida State taking on 17th ranked North Carolina. 7th ranked Duke taking on Georgia Tech. North Carolina Wilmington taking on 12th ranked Kentucky. USC is at number 11 Gonzaga. 3rd ranked Marquette is at Wisconsin. Drexel's at 18th ranked Villanova. I mentioned that already. Colgate is at 2nd ranked Arizona. 24th ranked Illinois is at Rutgers. Charleston's at 13th ranked Florida Atlantic. You have 9th ranked Baylor at home against Northwestern State, and you have 20th ranked Colorado State at Washington. For Sunday, you have Kansas City at 22nd ranked James Madison, 15th ranked Creighton at Nebraska, and Southern at 21st ranked Mississippi State. So that's in the top 25 for college basketball. A lot of great college basketball on this weekend, I must say right now. And you are surprisingly 15-point favorites. I kind of see this being in the favor for PC. They're home here. They're a lot better, stronger school. Expect this to be a big win for PC. I think they're going to get I think we're going to get like a 90-60 win here. I think Kim English has actually turned his program around for the better. It's kind of surprising at this point of how good they've been playing. I think they've been better than most teams give them credit for. They're 6-1 this year, PC. They're not that far behind Marquette, Creighton, and UConn. UConn's coming in at 7-0 at this point. PC 6-1. There's a second three-way tie for second place right now. Butler's not that far behind. You got Villanova as the 18th ranked team, which I'm surprised PC's not ranked at this point. I mean, given the opponents they faced here, it really does kind of surprise me. They're at Oklahoma, by the way, the week of the after they play URI. So that should be really tough. I'm going to get into that game that week coming up. They've had some pretty big wins though. They've had a win over Wisconsin at home. That was a big one. They won by 13. They lost to Kansas State in overtime by 3 points. They beat Georgia. They beat Lang. Lang's not really that great of a school. Wagner's not that great either. But URI though, I mean, they're on a promising run right now at this point, despite what conference they're in. They're in the Atlantic 10. They're not that far behind either. I mean, they've been pretty interesting this year. Way below right now, UMass, Duquesne, and LaSalle and St. Joseph. St. Joseph, by the way, who's been great this year. They had a big win earlier this past week against Villanova at Villanova. Imagine that one for a minute. An Atlantic 10 school going into the Big East and beating them there. That says a lot. And if URI can somehow pull that out this week and get a win at PC, that's a big win for the Atlantic 10, really, more than anything else. And it really should drive them up ahead of Duquesne and LaSalle. I'm sorry, but it should. I mean, I think it might. Honestly, here's the way I look at it right now at this point, and I can't believe I'm actually saying this. This might be the year for St. Joseph's this year in the Atlantic 10 this year. This might be a run for this year, a run for their money where they can go in the NCAA tournament right now, and they can make a run for it, and they can beat Villanova. They might even beat Duke. Here's one way of looking at it. They don't have Cooper Flag just yet, so it's not like that they're world beaters right now at this point. I mean, they had losses to Arkansas. They had losses to Arizona this year. Arizona's another wild card team where they can actually lose one in spectacular fashion and choke in the end. It's gonna be a good run this year for them. You never know. LaSalle, I don't see anything happening for. George Mason, I mean, the one that I would like to see happen this year for them, though, is interestingly enough right now, other than just 3 teams. I want to see 3 teams in the Atlantic 10. I don't think there's actually been 3 teams in the Atlantic 10 that have made the NCAA tournament in quite some time. I want to see that this year. Because you don't see it very often here. We normally see Dayton and VCU, but I don't think we've ever seen more than 3 or 4 teams ever in the Atlantic 10 making in the tournament. So I kind of hope it happens this year. I hope it does. Would make a really great for a more exciting NCAA tournament as far as, because it's always the same conferences that make it every year. It's always the Ivy League schools, and most of the time they just blow. I hate to say it, but Ivy League schools right now, when it comes to the Atlantic 10 or Big East tournaments and stuff like that, or just facing Big Ten opponents, they just can't beat them. I'm just sorry. Like, there's no other way of putting it. Like, you watch them play basketball, it's like, they're not world beaters. They barely make it. Yeah, they somehow get through. I mean, and they have the worst conferences, I think, than the Atlantic 10 do. That's just my opinion. So, for hockey this weekend, as my phone's about to die, we have the Lightning at the Dallas Stars, Rangers at the Nashville Predators, Red Wings are at the Montreal Canadiens. The Bruins are on the road against the Toronto Maple Leafs, and Ullmark is the goalie. So hopefully Ullmark does what Swimmer did to the Sharks and shut them out, but I just don't think that's going to happen. In fact, right now, the Maple Leafs right now are the favorite right now to win that game. You got the Avalanche against the Ducks. You got the Flyers against the Penguins. You got the Islanders versus the Panthers. Blackhawks versus the Winnipeg Jets. You have the Kraken versus the Senators. Sabres versus the Carolina Hurricanes. Blues versus the Arizona Coyotes. Vancouver Canucks go to Calgary to face the Flames. And the Washington Capitals taking on the Vegas Golden Knights. That's tomorrow. For Sunday, it's Blackhawks again at the Wild. The Columbus Blue Jackets go to Boston. I hope the Bruins do not lose that crap bag game. If they do, that sucks. Nashville's going to Buffalo, and Colorado is playing LA. So Bruins have a back-to-back here between Saturday and Sunday. So that should be interesting. I will be watching, of course, the big NFC title rematch that involves the 49ers and Seahawks. Now, listen, I'm going to do my NFL picks tomorrow with the NCAA review. So just keep that in mind. So don't worry about that. I will do that tomorrow. Otherwise, that's going to be the end of the show, really. I'm going to review all the NBA games that are going on in progress, along with the games that are happening tonight, obviously. So it's going to be a late show because I'm going to probably be on here late tomorrow night reviewing all the games because there's really no point in me reviewing like half the college football championship games after Monday because Monday will be all NFL review. It will be all NFL review. If I have time, I'll throw the NBA, NHL in there. It's not going to be a guarantee, which is why I'm giving you the schedule rundown right now because I didn't have a show on Monday. So you're going to get me on a Saturday, which is a rarity, really, at this point. Although this show did start on a Saturday before. But in this case here, you're going to get a double dose of me. So just look at it that way. There's no other baseball news to get into, I don't think, at this point. Not that I know of, really. That's really about it. Oklahoma State police investigating a dead Longhorn at a frat house. That's not a good sign right before the championship weekend here. And there's reports right now of Rodemaker uncertain for the ACC title game. So who the hell's going to be the quarterback in this game? See, that's a quarterback right now for Florida is good. They're already down one player here, so it's like it's that can't be good. Rodemaker began to feel symptoms Sunday from a hit that observed during the team's Week 13 win at Florida. He guys in the fourth quarter following a hit to the head, so he's in concussion protocol. So that can't be good. So could be one hell of a weekend for championship football, which is on tomorrow night. That's not good news. Yeah, that's it. And if Oregon wins somehow by some miracle here, I'm getting there's like a poll question going on CBS Sports right now. And apparently if Oregon's at number 4 as far as I'm concerned, I think if Florida State loses, that's the thing. It makes this becomes more interesting now at this point because this could probably put Texas. I mean, Texas might be back in the fold here because here's one way of looking at it. If Washington loses, they're out, right? So if Washington loses, they're out. That puts the Texas Longhorns right back in the conversation full right now because Alabama might lose to Georgia. Now, if Georgia loses, then that's a big one because they're out. Number 1 seed could go down this weekend. It could happen. Michigan could be the new number 1. That would bring in that would probably bring in, let's see, who's number 2 already? Michigan's number 2 already. So the number 3 seed would be, Michigan would be number 1. In this case here, Michigan's number 1. In this case here, in this case here, it depends if Florida State loses. Now, if Florida State loses here, you're allowing Michigan, Ohio State, and Texas. That'd be the top 4. If Florida State, Georgia, and Washington lose this weekend. Now, if Washington wins and Florida State loses, but now somehow Georgia loses here, that creates a Michigan, Washington, really Ohio State and Texas. That's one way of looking at it. So you want Washington Huskies versus the Buckeyes in the first round here, and if that happens in the first round, I'm sorry, but I got to go to Ohio State here in that regard. I have to, just because of their defense. Because I don't think Washington's faced a really tough defense this year in the Big Ten this year. Michigan and Ohio State both have that, so it's a wait and see kind of thing. But anyway, I will have my NFL picks for tomorrow while I review the college football championship games on tomorrow night. And I'll have the NFL picks, and I'll have the I'm trying to think of what else I will have here. That's really about it. And highlights of the NBA. Celtics are playing the Sixers tonight as well, so that's going to be a very good game. Otherwise, I am signing off. You know my social media at this point. I will see you all again very soon. I hope you all have enjoyed the rest of your weekend. If you are going to be busy over the weekend and can't watch the show, it's available anytime. You hit the like button, subscribe. It'd be much appreciated for the show. And I'm going to get ready for my second job. So I am out of here. Enjoy the rest of your night, guys.